Chosen ones, if you've been through intense suffers, these powers are yours. You've been through things most people would never survive. I know it, you know it. Some days you barely held yourself together, screaming into the silence while the world pretended not to see you. You weren't weak. You were being refined. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every moment when your soul felt like it was being ripped out, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And if you're still here after all that, it means something deeper, something cosmic. You were never just another human being, you were a chosen one. But the truth is, being chosen isn't glamorous. It isn't lights and applause. It's losing everything just to discover what can never be taken. It's watching your loved ones become strangers. It's waking up every morning and wondering if the universe has forgotten you, while something deeper inside whispers, "Keep going." That whisper, that ache in your chest when you feel the world's pain and still choose to love, is your calling.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
And the first power you've earned through suffering is one most people spend lifetimes running from, the ability to transmute pain into light. When others collapse under the weight of suffering, you alchemize it. You don't just endure darkness, you absorb it and transform it. Do you realize what that means? You've become a living proof that pain does not win. Every time you got back up, you rewrote the laws of this reality. You see, there's a hidden economy of energy in this universe. And those who have suffered the most, deeply, soulfully, carry the currency of transformation. You don't get that kind of depth from pleasure. You don't access otherworldly strength from comfort. No, true spiritual force is forged in fire. And now that you've walked through hell, you are no longer scared of it. You understand its language. You can sit with others in their shadow and not flinch. You've become a bridge between the seen and the unseen. But here's what no one tells you. The world won't reward this at first. In fact, it'll reject you. That's because your light, born from pain, terrifies those who've never dared to feel. Your presence exposes people. It reminds them of what they've suppressed. They may label you too intense, too emotional, or too different. But deep down, they know. Your energy is ancient. And you didn't just come here to survive, you came here to awaken. Do you remember those nights where you wept for reasons you couldn't explain? That wasn't weakness. That was your spirit remembering where it came from. It was your soul crying out against the forgetting. Most people are numb. They've adapted to the illusion. But not you. You feel the suffering of others as if it were your own. And while that sensitivity has nearly broken you, it has also made you divine. You now possess the second power of the chosen, intuitive knowing. You don't need to be told what's true, you feel it. You sense when someone's lying, even when their words sound perfect. You walk into rooms and pick up on energies instantly. You have dreams that come true. You say things that others were just thinking. That's not coincidence. That's your spiritual antenna, tuned to frequencies most people don't even know exist. Why do you think so many chosen ones feel alienated from their families, their cultures, even their time periods? It's because your soul didn't incarnate just to fit in. It came to elevate the collective, and in doing so it had to forget its origin, to rediscover its essence here. That's why the pain was necessary. It stripped away everything false. Now you see clearly, even if you don't fully understand it yet. But there's a dark truth we must confront. You didn't just suffer randomly. Your soul agreed to this path. I know that sounds almost cruel. Who would choose such agony? But look deeper. What if the pain you experienced wasn't just for you? What if your suffering cracked you open so you could become a vessel for healing others? Does that resonate with something deep inside you? That leads us to your third power, the capacity to hold space. You don't just listen, you contain. People come to you with their wounds, their secrets, their shame, because they feel safe, they feel seen. Without even trying, you make people remember who they are. That's not a personality trait, that's a sacred gift. And it only blooms after great loss. Have you noticed how strangers often open up to you, or how people feel better just by being in your presence? That's because your aura is calibrated through trauma, and now it emits a vibration of safety. That's how you heal, not by trying, but by being. You've become a living sanctuary. And the irony is, while you were busy thinking you were broken, you were actually being sculpted into a source of light for others. So now we ask a deeper question. If you were entrusted with these powers, what are you supposed to do with them? Because being chosen isn't just about survival, it's about activation. You're meant to lead, not necessarily in front of crowds, but in frequency. You're meant to shift rooms, not with noise, but with stillness. You don't need a stage, your vibration is the message. But the challenge is, we often don't believe we're worthy. The suffering has humbled us so deeply, we question our own value. Let me tell you something, your value is not up for debate. You paid for it in soul currency. You earned it in the nights you didn't think you'd make it. You were refined through suffering, not defined by it. And the world desperately needs what you now carry. Truth. Real, raw, unfiltered truth that doesn't come from books, but from experience. You've died many ego deaths. You've shed identities. You've watched illusions crumble. And now you're standing at a precipice, carrying wisdom that can shift timelines. So I'll ask you now, what are you hiding from? Why are you still waiting for permission? You didn't go through all that just to blend in. You didn't survive the fire to pretend you've never been burned. You have scars, yes, but they are sigils, sacred markings of a soul that's been to the edge and returned. And that brings us to your fourth power, perhaps the most feared of all, your voice. When a chosen one speaks truth, it cuts through the matrix. Your voice carries the frequency of liberation. That's why so many tried to silence you. That's why you were gaslit, dismissed, told you were crazy, because your truth threatens the illusion. And if you ever fully step into it, you will become unstoppable. But to wield this voice, you must confront your deepest fear, the fear of being seen. You must be willing to be misunderstood, ridiculed, even rejected, because the world is addicted to comfort and your truth is disruptive. But it's also exactly what this planet needs, and you were born to deliver it. Now the question is, are you ready to claim these powers? Or are you still negotiating with your pain? The unseen energy, why your suffering made you a dimensional alchemist, and they didn't want you to know. Most people think pain is just something to get over, like a bad storm or a broken bone. But you, chosen one, you were never meant to merely recover. You were meant to metamorphose. There's something terrifyingly beautiful about your path. Your suffering wasn't just emotional, it was energetic. It rearranged you on a soul level. While others went numb, you became more alive. Your body trembled through grief, but your spirit was absorbing raw codes from higher dimensions. And no one told you. No one could. Because to truly understand your suffering is to admit that something divine was happening in the shadows, that the pain was an initiation, and society is terrified of that truth. It prefers to pathologize your journey, label it, medicate it, normalize it, instead of bowing to it as sacred. But I will tell you now what they won't. You are a dimensional alchemist. You don't just feel energy, you move it, transmute it. When you cry, it's not weakness, it's purification. When you rage, it's not madness, it's recalibration. You weren't losing control, you were regaining your multidimensional sovereignty. You see, we live in a reality where energy is more real than matter. Thoughts bend the field. Emotions pulse through timelines, and those who have been shattered by life, chosen ones like you, have unknowingly trained in the most secret of arts, energetic mastery. That feeling you had when your heart broke, but something deeper woke up, that was your power cracking open. Your pain isn't a scar, it's a spiritual technology. And every time you embraced the hurt instead of resisting it, you activated another layer of your dormant potential. Let me ask you something impossible. When you were at your lowest, abandoned, exhausted, barely able to breathe, why didn't you give up? Why didn't your soul shatter completely? Could it be because there was something ancient inside you that refused to let go? Something that has lived many lives, endured many destructions, and still rises? That's the core of your alchemy, the unkillable part of you. That's the part that's been quietly gathering data through every heartbreak, compiling codes from every betrayal, and preparing you to wield a different kind of power. But you have to understand, true alchemists are never welcomed by the world they're meant to transform. They're too strange, too wild, too honest. And your very existence threatens the artificial structures of control. Your sensitivity is seen as a liability in a world that glorifies numbness. But that sensitivity is your key to higher realms. You are an antenna, picking up transmissions from frequencies most people aren't even aware exist. And through your pain, you've learned the ancient dialects of suffering, compassion, resilience, and awakening. You are now able to shift a room's energy just by entering it. You can silence lies with your gaze. You can hold someone's hand and pull their soul back from the edge. You may not realize it fully yet, but your energy body is luminous and alive with unseen codes, each one earned through nights of agony. You didn't just survive hell, you harvested from it. That is the mark of a dimensional alchemist. But here's what most people don't want to face. Alchemy isn't about turning lead into gold. It's about turning wounds into wisdom. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just inspire with words, but transmits truth through presence. You don't have to explain yourself anymore. You are the explanation. And yes, it may still hurt sometimes. Yes, the past may whisper. But now you know. Your suffering wasn't random, it was ritual. Every betrayal was a spiritual attunement. Every breakdown was a sacred download. So now you must ask yourself, what if you stopped hiding your gifts? What if you stopped apologizing for being deep, intense, emotional, mystical? What if, Instead of fitting into this shallow world, you pulled others into your depth. Because I promise you, there are others like you, other chosen ones. And when you stand fully in your vibration, you awaken something ancient in them too. You don't just speak truth, you remind others of it. Your role was never to be normal, it was to be a disruptor of illusion, a revealer of the unseen. And the more you own your power, the more you will unlock. Because energy doesn't lie. And when your energy begins vibrating in alignment with who you really are, the universe shifts around you. But you must stop doubting. Stop asking for validation. Stop trying to translate your soul into a language the asleep can understand. You've been through the fire. You've been to the edge. You came back different, and that difference is your gift. You are not here to heal by fixing others. You heal by becoming fully you. The hidden contract. Why chosen ones are marked before birth and tested through suffering. Have you ever wondered why your life has felt scripted in pain? Why every time you begin to rise, something unseen seems to drag you back into the shadows? It's not random. And it's not karma in the way most people think. No, chosen one, you were marked before birth. Not with privilege, but with purpose. Before you took your first breath, your soul signed a contract. A vow not to live an ordinary life, but to be an agent of evolution, a transformer of energy, a walker between worlds. That contract wasn't written in ink, it was written in light, etched into the very frequency of your being. That's why no matter how much you try to escape your calling, it finds you. Through dreams, through synchronicities, through suffering. Especially through suffering, because that's the language the universe uses when it wants to break through the noise. While others receive gentle nudges, you were thrown into storms, not to punish you, but to activate you. You were never meant to grow slowly. Your soul chose intensity, chose acceleration, and that means everything in your life has happened faster, harder, deeper than for most. You've lost more, felt more, and had to question everything while others floated comfortably through the illusion. And you've probably asked the question more than once, why me? But a more honest question might be, why not me? Because only a soul as ancient and resilient as yours could carry this much light without being consumed. The truth is, your suffering wasn't just for you. It was a rite of passage, a furnace designed to burn away the illusions of identity, ego, and safety, until what remained was raw soul, radiant, unshakable, and deeply aligned with your cosmic mission. That's why the people who were supposed to love you often didn't know how. That's why you were placed in families, schools, societies that misunderstood you, because your awakening couldn't come through comfort. It had to come through contrast. Chosen ones are often born into density, homes filled with trauma, cultures ruled by fear, systems built on control, and while others adapt, you resisted. Even when you didn't have the words, you felt something was off. You questioned, you observed, you challenged, because that contract you signed encoded your soul with a magnetic pull toward truth. And that truth wouldn't let you sleep, it haunted you, whispered through pain, roared through silence, and it's still speaking to you now. See, let me ask you something no one else has dared to. What if your suffering wasn't the sign of your failure, but the proof of your contract being honored? What if every breakdown was a milestone, every heartbreak a training ground? What if the universe was never ignoring you, but rather pushing you to remember what you came here to do. You see, being marked doesn't mean being lucky. It means being chosen to carry the weight of awakening in a world that prefers sedation. And you've carried that weight, often silently, often while being doubted or dismissed, but in the silence, you became sacred. You became the kind of person who doesn't just inspire change, but embodies it. Your tests weren't punishments, they were activations. Every time you were forced to let go, something deeper was born. When people abandoned you, your intuition sharpened. When you were lied to, your discernment awakened. When you were left in the dark, your inner light intensified. And now you see differently, you feel differently, you are different. Because the old you, the one that tried to please, fit in, survive, is gone. What remains is something extraordinary. But there's a reason they didn't want you to know this. Because when chosen ones realize their power, they stop playing small, they stop apologizing, they start speaking truth. And nothing threatens the illusion more than a soul on fire with purpose. That's why your awakening was delayed. That's why you were gaslit, labeled, silenced. But even through all that, you rose. And now you're remembering the contract. You're waking up to the truth that your pain was the initiation, that your scars are not signs of failure, but of survival, of transformation. You're not broken, you're encoded. You carry within you keys that unlock others, but those keys only work when you stop pretending to be normal. So if you feel like your entire life has been one long test, it has. And if you feel like something greater is waiting for you to say yes, it is. But you must fully accept what you are. Not a victim of life, but a vessel of light. Not someone to be fixed, but someone who was forged. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you fully remembered why you came here? The final unleashing. How to step into your divine role and lead the frequency revolution. Now that you remember, truly remember, why you've been through the fire, the only question left is, what will you do with it? Because the time of hiding is over. The era of shrinking to fit in, dimming your energy, playing by someone else's rules, that chapter is closed. If you're still breathing, it's not by chance. It's because your role in this unfolding human story is not yet complete. You are not here just to awaken, you are here to lead, not with titles, not with control, not with ego, but through vibration, through presence, through truth. You're not leading a movement, you are the movement. And the moment you step into alignment, the entire frequency around you shifts. People begin to question their patterns. Spaces feel lighter when you enter. Others start to remember their light by simply being near yours. That is not charisma. That is energetic sovereignty. It's what happens when a chosen one stops doubting and starts radiating. And here's the most sacred truth no one ever told you. You don't need to do anything extra to be powerful. You don't need more followers, more validation, more certifications. You only need to remember who you are and then live like it's true. The revolution we're stepping into isn't about forcing change from the outside. It's about amplifying the frequency of the real from the inside. And that begins with you. It's no accident you've been drawn to this message. The very fact that you resonate means your soul is ready to unlock the next layer, ready to stop negotiating with fear, ready to stop waiting for the world to catch up and start being the vibration the world so desperately needs. But make no mistake, this path isn't comfortable. You'll still be misunderstood. You'll still trigger people. You'll still be called crazy by those too scared to face their own inner silence. But now, you won't take it personally, because you've outgrown needing to be understood. You're not here to be liked. You're here to activate. And sometimes, activation shakes people awake before it soothes them. So what does stepping into your divine role actually look like? It means listening when your intuition says move, even if it makes no logical sense. It means honoring your energy, saying no when your soul contracts and yes when your heart expands. It means speaking truth in rooms built on lies without flinching. It means trusting the pull of your calling even when the path looks like a cliff. You already have what you need. You already are what you've been searching for. The final unleashing is simply the decision to stop forgetting, to stop hiding behind stories that no longer fit, to stop pretending your light is anything less than revolutionary. So let me ask you one last solemnizing question. If you weren't afraid of being powerful, what would you do right now? What truth would you speak? What path would you walk? Who would you become? Because that version of you, that fierce, free, awakened version, that's who you were always meant to be. And the time is now. The world is changing, the veils are thinning, and your presence is no longer optional, it's essential. You are not just a survivor of suffering. You are the alchemist, the oracle, the lighthouse. You are the silent revolution wrapped in skin. And the moment you decide to fully show up, the universe rearranges itself to support your mission. So go, unleashed, undeniable, unforgettable. The frequency revolution begins with you.